Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of a video that I already put out. I showed you how that I cast off using waste yarn and an extra color. Okay, this is the other side that I was telling you. This was my beginning. So I'm going to show you how to cast this back on the machine so I can make another tube for my blanket. And I told you my stitch markers. My other side I did waste yarn in pink, so I used a pink stitch marker, and on this side I use yellow. So when I line up the tubes together, I can have them in the right direction that I did them on the machine so that they'll all line up right. So here we are once again. I counted my stitches as I picked them up and made sure that I had 46 so that I don't have any drop stitches. I told you I do a half a knot, so let me undo that half a knot. And then I hold this side and grab some of the blue of that one round of that waste yarn, and I hold this side without touching the blue, and then I just pull, and you can see it start coming out of the work, and I just keep pulling until it comes all the way out. And once that happens, I grab that and then I pull it, see it popping out, and then I pull it all the way out from the other side. And I told you, as I'm working on this blanket, I just keep reusing this. All I do is I fold it in half, and then I hang it around the leg of my Addi machine so it's handy for the next time that I do it. Alright, and then I told you how this will just pop right off, and then I just have my sewing thread, pop that through the center, and then I have another tube ready to attach to my blanket, which I will do in another video once I have my tubes made. So I told you I don't undo this for my waste yarn since I'm making a blanket and I'm repeating the same thing. I just line up with the white on the right and the black on the left, and where this starts peeling and coming undone, instead of unraveling all of it, I just set this on my lap down here, leave a little bit of a tail, and then I just start wrapping for my next one. I let it unravel from this by itself right back onto the machine. So you go in front and then behind, front, behind, and you do that all the way around. You don't really have to worry about tension with this because it comes off the same tension you had on it the first time. And then on your very last white one that comes back around, it should always end up being behind. Open that, put the yarn in and close it. And then all I do is crank until all this is back on the machine. So we will do that. First couple rounds you can do pretty slow. And then just keep spinning. I would say it's probably between 1 inch and 2 inches that I put on there because that's about how much of this curls up. Work on getting all this, and you see how it's just unraveling. Instead of undoing it and then putting it back on the machine, instead of wasting that time, I just keep doing this over and over again for each of my tubes. And that noise you hear is the clicker counting the rows, which I'm not worried about right now since this is waste yarn. But I will reset that as soon as I do my first row. Oh, here's something to show you. I wanted a little extra waste and I had run out of my yellow and I tied some more on there, and that little knot will go through the machine. All I do is once the knot pulls through, just so the two ends don't get pulled down with the hook, I just make sure I pull those off to the side and push that down, and it has not caused me any issues. See, there it goes right by. And since there was only one yarn that was pulled down by the hook, it didn't mess anything up. Because I just wanted a little bit more to get that curl to make it easy for me. And you can see I probably got about 3 more rounds to go. There's not enough to go around one more time, so then I open this up and always stop just before the black and put this, make sure that it's underneath that white one, and then you just drop that in the middle. And now, like I told you, I just put this yarn, I have 2 of them for the beginning and the end wrapped around the legs, and this is the color that I'm using for my 1 round. So it makes it easy without unraveling the whole thing like I just showed you, where the whole tube of yellow just came off together, and the only thing I did was pull out this yarn. So I just leave about 4 inches, set that down, close it, make sure all these fall off, give that a little tug, get that little tug, and now I'm just going around 1 time with this color. That way the yarn that I'm actually using in my blanket will stand out. So then I stop there, open that up, same thing. Excuse me, make sure that it's, let me get a little sip here. My little Gatorade. I work all morning by myself, so I don't really talk a whole lot, so maybe that's why I got a little itch in my throat. Too much talking. All right, now I put that down, and I just do a 1/2 knot, not much of nothing, right there while I'm doing it, not too tight, but just enough to hold them together. And then I take the yarn that I'm working with, and I told you I'd do about 2 arm lengths of this, so I gotta pull it out, 1, grab it again, 2, put that in the middle, and that will be what I use to crochet it together. Now, I turn this just enough that it did the click for the row counting, and now I set my counter. And then this is where we started with, this is the color of the blanket. So now I'm gonna slowly turn this. See, it clicked and it still says 0. So when I go around 1 time and I go just past the black, I'm gonna look and make sure that the counter says 1. See, it says 1. So that means I have my 1 row and the counter is right. And then depending on the size of your blanket, from here, all you do is just keep on spinning. And then when you tighten that up a little bit, kind of keep the stitches together. And then this pretty much will take you to the beginning of my other video that shows me doing the same thing. Once I've got my number of rounds, I put the blue back on there for 1 round, and then I end in pink, so that when I'm making my blanket, that I know which one was the beginning and which one was the end. So when I put them together, I want to line them up exactly the same way. So that is how I do my tubes, to make it a lot easier at the end to sew the ends together, which I demonstrate in the end of my last video. And I always count the stitches when I'm crocheting them, if I'm not using the needle and actually like picking them up off the machine, if I'm doing it this way with waste yarn, because a few times I get to the end and I'm at 45 and there's no stitches left. So I can undo it, because it's not going to undo itself because you have all this waste yarn keeping you from having any drop stitches. And then I go back to the beginning and I make sure I'm doing the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and when I get to the very end, it's 46. That way I know I've picked up every one of them, because there's 46 needles on the machine and you will not have any drop stitches. And that's worked really well for me. So I hope this video also helped, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.